All right, everyone, welcome back to the Land of Chem. I am your host and the author. My name is Jeffrey Drum. Thank you all so much for joining me again. All right, everyone, welcome back. This is Sunday Site Visit 55, and we just returned from a week-long research expedition to Luxor and Abydos, featuring the Luxor Temple, the Karnak Temple, the Temple of Seti I, the Hathor Temple, and a private, special permission access into the Osireion. And due to my recent research on the structure, I have been officially added as a member of the Osireion 7 mission to investigate the source of the water below the temple. And I was invited to Abydos to participate in the ongoing archaeological excavations. And I have some groundbreaking footage from that private site visit coming up soon on the members only channel. But first, let's start today with the footage from the Luxor Temple. If this is the type of content you're interested in regarding the ancient technology of a lost civilization utilizing physics and chemistry and the function of the Egyptian pyramids and other ancient structures from across the world, this is the channel for you. So please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube, and don't forget to click that little notification bell so that you do not miss the new episodes that premiere twice per week. Please like, comment, share, and stay tuned if you want to help support this channel and get access to exclusive research and unreleased footage like the upcoming episode on the Osireion. Please subscribe to the Land of Chem members only channel, and if you want to pick up a copy of the book or grab some merch, check out thelandofchem.com. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my handle is @thelandofchem. Also, don't forget, after you finish watching this video, please go subscribe to our two new channels here on YouTube, Egyptian Trash Cats, for all you cat lovers out there, and Egypt Eats for food reviews. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you all so much for the support. I think that is it for today's intro. So without further ado, let's get right to it. All right, everyone, here we go with tonight's episode. First, a quick announcement. The second Land of Chem 2024 Ancient Alchemy and Ascension Tour is on, and bookings are now available. If you're interested in joining on this epic adventure experience coming up in early winter later this year, please send me an email to contact@thelandofchem.com with the subject line Egypt Tour 3, and I will send you the full tour itinerary and pricing details. Thank you all so much, and I will see you soon here in Egypt. Now, to begin, here is an image of the main entrance into the Luxor Temple that originally featured two towering red granite obelisks that you can see here, which were made from single pieces of red granite. And the main objective for today's expedition was to search for evidence that the dynastic era portions of the Luxor Temple were constructed upon the foundations of a much older structure, and to investigate an area of particular interest directly related to the function of the older structure, a chamber within the site known as the Holy of Holies, located here. And the Luxor Temple is unique and very special in that it was designed to embody the sacred proportions of man himself. As explained in the prolific work by Schwaller de Lubitz in his book, The Temple in Man, a study on sacred architecture and the perfect man. So this temple not only emulates the ideal physical proportions of man, encoding a vast array of profound geometry and measurements, but also references the spiritual body of man, reflecting everything from the leg, the knee, the femur, the navel, the lungs, the heart, the vocal cords, the mouth, the optic nerve, and the third eye here. Now, according to de Lubitz, the Holy of Holies is located at the mouth of the structure. I disagree with this somewhat, as the divine seat, the pineal gland, the inner sanctum otherwise known as the Holy of Holies, is typically associated with the area known as the third eye. But he does give a very interesting description of this area that I will quote here. The mouth, or the Holy of Holies here, corresponds to the layout of the Holy of Holies. It is the origin of all the temple. It contains the seed of growth of the temple. It was the first room to be built in the temple. Every Egyptian temple is symbolically built upon a special step that is selected from an earlier temple, the quote-unquote seed stone. The function of this stone and this chamber is that they will predict the organic growth of the temple, just like the genetic information in a living seed predicts the growth of the living organism. And it just so happens that we may have found this seed stone located within the Holy of Holies. We also discovered prolific evidence that the dynastic era construction of the Luxor temple is indeed built on the foundations of a much older and, in my opinion, functional structure. And for now, I will say this. If the chamber known as the Holy of Holies is indeed configured to correspond with the quote-unquote mouth of the structure, this would fit perfectly with my hypothesis about the function of this amazing site. And I have a full research episode discussing the function of the Luxor, Karnak, Seti, and Hathor temples coming up soon, as they all have very similar methods of operation. But for now, let's begin with a detailed on-site examination of the Luxor temple. And ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I hope you enjoy Sunday Site Visit 55. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And we're on yet another exceptional adventure here on the land of Chem. You might notice the background has changed a little bit. And we just arrived this afternoon to Luxor. And behind me, the Luxor temple. Also very excited to finally be rocking the new White Horse Land of Chem logo, available now at thelandofchem.com. So, this will be the first site on our expedition to explore the ancient sites of Luxor over the past several days. I have some amazing surprises in store for you. This will be site 1. And we're in search of something very specific today here at the Luxor temple. Of particular interest to me, an area of the site known as the Holy of Holies. And you can see here at the front of the structure what is known as the Avenue of the Sphinx. And you can see all of these little statues here are Sphinx statues flanking the entrance into the Luxor temple. All right. So now, without further ado, Yalla Bina. And our guide here was just providing us with some pretty interesting information about that red granite obelisk, which will be particularly relevant to our upcoming discussion on the potential function of this site. So conventionally speaking, this is definitely dynastic temple building work. Smaller blocks of sandstone. Structure is attributed to Amenhotep III, Tutankhamun, and then later Ramses II. However, there are some indications that they're much older areas of the site, as of course with all of ancient Egypt, where they were repurposing older structures and building on top of them. So that the main intent for today's investigation here at the Luxor temple is to determine if we can find evidence of older construction here at the site upon which this temple was later constructed. So here you can see some of these sphinxes. And this avenue that goes all the way down here, 3.5 kilometers, connecting the Luxor temple and Karnak temples. And I will say it is absolutely beautiful out here. Probably here in perfect time to watch the sunset on the bank of the Nile River. Of course, I have my wife Alexa from Ancient Odysseys with me as always. Not too shabby. All right, here we go. And threshold of the temple. The front part of the structure being mostly attributed to Ramses II. And the temple itself is constructed from sandstone blocks. And you'll see that these pieces of sandstone are much smaller than what we're used to seeing in the Giza plateau, Dashur, Saqqara pyramid areas. So you can see here, specifically in the upper part of the temple structure itself, again, these smaller blocks of sandstone. However, when it comes to these two obelisks, and there were originally two that once stood out in front of this structure. The one that I am currently examining, and the missing one here that is now standing in France. We're looking here at a single piece of red granite that, even standing next to it right now, I can tell you has a completely different feel to it than the rest of the structure. The base here looks to be red quartzite. And our guide was telling us that this obelisk was originally capped with electrum. So we know that electrum is a mixture of both gold and silver. Should give it some pretty exceptional properties that would be directly related to capturing these massive electrostatic discharge from lightning. You can also see these pretty colossal statues here, made from black granite. And the piece in particular that I'm in search of today is at the center head of the temple. The Holy of Holies. Let's see what we can find.
It's like a keystone that ties the pieces together. Yeah, it is granite. Yeah.
I will say that the hieroglyphs here are of exceptional quality. And they don't all look like that. For example, again, these here, exceptional quality. in terms of the execution of the hieroglyph. But if you look at these here, these are not even close to the same quality. And you'll notice here, this hieroglyph, the 7 rays, is the symbol Nebu, or the symbol for gold, as discussed in the recent episode regarding the quartz crystal gold processing temple on the Giza plateau. Here you can see some joints, these butterfly clamps. I would say in this case it's most likely a later addition where the piece of stone cracked and they used the clamps to hold the stone together. And you can see here again the quality of these is not even close to the quality on the top of the pillar. And here is the best of that hieroglyph with the 7 rays, this entire symbol meaning gold. So this cartouche, so anytime that you see one of these oval shapes with a line at the bottom, that's what they call a cartouche. And they'll have a name inscribed in here, which is an indication that you're looking at a name or a title in the hieroglyphic alphabet. This would indicate gold and the golden name. And that little dot right there is the moon. Here you can see another example of where the stone had cracked and the clamps that have since been removed, these butterfly joints, most likely would have been metal here that has now been removed. I'd say those things are pretty badass. I'd like to have a set of those flanking my doorway one day. آسف شكرا شكرا.
La moschea, la moschea del Hagag è costruita proprio sul tempio perché era tutto coperto di sabbia. E questa non è una finestra,
And I apologize for any lack of narration during today's video. I'm just kind of taking everything in and enjoying the sight. And there's one area of particular interest for me today. This is my second time visiting the Luxor temple. My first time in 2017 during my first expedition to Egypt. And mostly what I'm looking at here, again, kind of the difference in construction with the smaller sandstone blocks of the temple itself, as compared to this piece, for example, which is a single piece of red granite. And you can see these that are all made in sections. And this has always kind of been a subject that has been proposed out there in terms of the progression of construction in ancient Egypt, that at some point the large megalithic construction was abandoned. They stopped cutting things out of massive pieces of single stone and they started using smaller, softer materials like sandstone. But this granite lintel beam here, looking very much like what we see at the Pyramid of Sahura in Abu Sir, where the temple has since fallen down or been intentionally taken apart. And then you have the lintel beam like this now on the floor in Abu Sir at the Pyramid of Sahura. I'm trying to stay out of the way of all these tour groups. Of course, I probably lost Alexa somewhere. There she is. Okay. All right. Precious cargo is intact. So I recently showed our visit to the Newgrange Egyptian Museum, where they have that colossal statue of Ramses II. And these are very similar styles, single piece. These are all red granite. I remember the first time I saw these ones and looking very much like elongated skulls on these guys here. Of course, that being the crown. But you can see this one here, it's completely smooth. There's no delineation between the face and the crown. Maybe it was unfinished. But on the rest of these, you see that there's a delineation between the head and the crown. This one is just smooth all the way up. I will say that the structure is absolutely gorgeous. The Luxor temple is also known as the Temple of Man in terms of its proportions and its design. And I'll put in some diagrams at the beginning of the video so that we can evaluate that nomenclature used to describe the Luxor temple. and we'll keep rolling here in just a sec.
Yes. So, look at there. Can you notice number one? But there can you see raised? Yes. And the cartouches there, we haven't seen.
Again, trying to steer clear of all these tour groups. The Great Hall here. And we have almost arrived at the area. I can see it there in the distance that it's already caught my eye. The area I was searching for.
Actually are more holy than outside. And this place is actually
ahorra todos los meses más, por eso es que no se gasta más.
I will say this temple is extremely impressive. All right, I'm gonna see who can point out first. If you can see the symbol that I'm looking at right between these two columns.
ايوه صح بص معبد الاقصر
Can you see it? It's an eye. Here's the center of the eye here. The rays coming out, flanked by the two pillars. There we go. A symbol that has existed within the ancient esoteric societies since time immemorial. Okay. We have now entered the sanctuary area. And we are going to cross through the head end of the temple. In search of the Holy of Holies.
I'm waiting for you outside.
Thank you. Thank you.
And here is the piece that I was looking for. This piece right here. I remember finding this piece during my last and first expedition to Luxor, that is embedded of the foundation of the Holy of Holies. And I find this nomenclature of Holy of Holies particularly interesting because this is the same description that is utilized for the inner sanctum of King Solomon's temple, the Holy of Holies, the head end of the temple, which is located approximately where the third eye would be within a human being. So again, Luxor is known as the Temple of Man, with the feet being near the entrance, the main columns that we cross through being the body of the man, and here we are standing within the head, in the divine seat, the Holy of Holies, inside of this temple. And I knew that there was something very special about this piece of stone. This is not limestone, this piece here. And I think they left it poking out intentionally. I would almost bet that that is a piece of white calcite crystal, otherwise known as alabaster.
Can you just
And I can tell you, just standing in here, that the sensation inside of this area of the temple is very different from what I've experienced walking up in this direction. Powerful stuff. So we just walked out of the area of the temple that's known as the Holy of Holies. And I can tell you that when you cross the threshold from being in this doorway, when you walk out of there, it's a completely different physiological experience standing within that portion of the temple compared to the remaining areas of the structure. It's a pretty wild sensation. And of course, we're going to walk back there here in just a minute. Shukran. It's okay, colo quiet. Exterior of the structure here. I don't know if I mentioned, but the Luxor temple is literally directly adjacent to the Nile River. So this structure would have also had a harbor area where you could dock at the harbor and easily access the site. But as we know, this also implies connection with moving water. So again, if there is a more ancient area of this structure, let's say the most subterranean portion of this site, indicated by that piece of calcite crystal embedded in the floor in the Holy of Holies, and then they built the rest of this structure on top of it, there certainly may be more functional components involved in this structure than the above ground portions that you can see today. as you can see here, almost sunset. It's the golden hour. And once again, I've lost my wife. Let's see if we can.
What's your step?
All right, there we go. Do the ancient Odysseys, land of Chem, Inception. I was gonna say we're.
Oh, filming each other. Inception.
All right. So let's walk back through the Holy of Holies one more time. And then I think we're gonna find somewhere to go watch the sunset. Because tonight is our first night in Luxor. And, you know, we just wanna hang out and enjoy the rest of the site. You know, of course, people walk through here and they have no idea really what they're looking at. All right, yeah, so let's walk around the exterior here. Okay, so you can see here that there is a self-contained chamber within this exterior chamber. Again, very indicative of what we see in the Temple of King Solomon. With the inner sanctum, the Holy of Holies, being a secluded area, self-contained within the rest of the temple. Now, I'm not suggesting that this portion of the structure is older or functional, but perhaps the area upon which it was constructed may be. Because it looks like all of this, and you can kind of see it's a bit of a madhouse in here right now. But again, this is located directly in the third eye of the structure. Again, that divine seat, the Holy of Holies, of course, the most powerful area of the structure. And you can feel it in here. And of course, they built this area of the temple around the oldest and most sacred area of the original site, the older site. The evidence of which you can see here. Amongst all of this unfortunate restoration. All right, pretty badass outro there. All right, next up, some footage from the Luxor Museum and sunset. Mohawk's getting pretty rad, huh? Oh yeah, check this out.
This way, all the way down.
And in just a minute, this whole thing will be lit up.
I'm on Rob. I'm on would never go and meet his wife in her hotel. He that she would go and meet him in her hotel.
This is Amenhotep III, father of Amenhotep IV, otherwise known as the Pharaoh Akhenaten. Certainly looks like an elongated skull underneath there. Very similar to the depictions of Akhenaten. That also has that similar feature. This is black greywacke. The same material that we find in the container in the pyramid of Wanis, in the pyramid of Teti I in Saqqara. Here's another spectacular piece. White calcite crystal, otherwise known as alabaster. Glow in the crystal and the light. A much smaller version of the obelisk that we just saw at the temple of Luxor. I always found these seated box-like figures to be very intriguing. This is Sekhmet. And this is my first time at the Luxor Museum. And they have some really beautiful pieces here. Sekhmet, of course, being one of my personal favorites. The cat goddess. The goddess of war. And here we have a case of more symbols that still persist to this day. Plum. Square. And a level. We also have here the ruler. So a ruler is a dual purpose term. A ruler is something that you use to measure. A ruler is also someone in a governmental position. For example, the king is the ruler. So specifically in the ancient time, the individual that dictated the weights and measures of the civilization was the ruler. Those weights and measures were the definitions of ancient civilizations. Some architectural blueprints here. My question has always been, where are the architectural blueprints of the pyramids? And here, some writing implements. You can see some of the minerals that they used to make the pigments. Got a paint palette. And the ibis, representing the god Thoth.
Entonces imagínate cómo viene la tumba, porque después de la muerte de Akenatón, ¿qué hicimos? La momia, y el esqueleto está ahí, y hemos dañado los cartuchos, por eso todo esto fue dañado, las estatuas fueron también dañadas. Vamos a ver su forma.
And this is, of course, Amenhotep IV, better known as Akhenaten. Perhaps my favorite figure from, conventional dynastic history. They have a really nice museum here. And these ritual offering trays. And unfortunately, you don't really have the liberty to record like this at the Cairo Museum. And this one is really spectacular.
Mira los labios carnosos, mira la nariz, mira la cobra, mira ahí está,
y mira la barba, perdón, mira el pecho de la mujer. También viene, en el Museo del Cairo vamos a ver una estatua entera, viene la cadera de la mujer, el ombligo, las nalgas, viene todo de la mujer. Entonces, ¿por qué Ajenatón cambió esto? Bueno, hay mucha gente que dice que esas estatuas están hechas por los sacerdotes de Amón como una ironía, pero si lo hiciste, entonces nunca puedes dejar el cartucho. Así, porque el cartucho también sigue colgando la gente. Hay gente que dice que no, que quiso ser distinto, la verdad, no. Entonces, Ajenatón quiso ser hombre y mujer al mismo tiempo. Entonces, yo necesito hacer el amor. ¿Con quién? Conmigo. Entonces, yo soy hombre y mujer al mismo tiempo. Por eso, Ajenatón es una de las personas más locas y más interesantes, y mi favorito en Egipto es este Ajenatón. Esto lo hemos encontrado en Carna, ¿no?
And we're just saying that I was kind of eavesdropping on that Spanish-speaking guide, and he was explaining that Akhenaten is depicted as having both male and female characteristics. You see the breasts here. In the Cairo Museum, he has big, wide hips and a round belly, more accentuated breast features, the accentuated lips. Of course, this is also the esoteric symbol of ascension, being manifesting of both male and female characteristics, the duality of manifestation, representing a symbol of ascension. And just a quick announcement, new Land of Chem merch is now available. I just dropped the Nano Gold 5th degree logo on a black t-shirt and hoodie, and I'm very excited to present the new spectacular white horse logo on a black hoodie, and the premium high definition extra large white horse logo on this exceptional quality black t-shirt. And once again, thank you so much to friend and supporter of the channel, Adam Arrington from New Zealand, for collaborating with me on this new logo design. He has done some amazing work in helping me bring my ideas for the Land of Chem logos to life. And if you want to check out more of his work, I'll put a link to his Instagram in the video description below. The Egyptian blue version of the Land of Chem book and the last 30 or so of the signed first edition purple orchid paper print are still available. So if you want to show some love, just check out thelandofchem.com. And thank you all so much for the support. All right, everyone, that is it for today's video. This was Sunday Site Visit 55 from the Luxor Temple. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and in the next episode in the series, I will be discussing the evolution in the function of the step pyramid complex that began with extraction of geological deposits of methane located below the structure. This is an episode you do not want to miss, so if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube if you're interested in the ancient technology of a lost civilization utilizing physics and chemistry, and the function of the Egyptian pyramids and other ancient structures from across the world. If you want to help support the channel and get access to exclusive research and unreleased footage, check out the Land of Chem members only channel and thelandofchem.com if you want to pick up a copy of the book or grab some merch. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my handle is @thelandofchem. Also, don't forget, after you finish watching this video, please go subscribe to our 2 new channels here on YouTube, Egyptian Trash Cats for all you cat lovers out there, and Egypt Eats for food reviews. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you all so much for the support. I think that is it for today's episode, so I will see you next time. Yo, are you still watching this? Please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube and click that little notification button. New videos coming out every single week. And check out this other episode. Come on, do it. Do it now.